Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of Video Game Club, where every 2 weeks we play and discuss a game voted on by you, the people. It's like voting for president, except popular vote matters. I'm Tyler, and I have with me today the man, the myth, the legend, Austin.
Hello.
How are you doing, Austin?
I'm doing all right. Having a bit of a Sunday. How are you doing?
Doing well. Nothing wrong with having a bit of a Sunday. And of course, this would not be a Video Game Club meeting without the wonderful Mox. Hey, Mox.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Great. How about you?
Good. And because it's episode 10, we have a very special guest coming all the way from a small corner on the edge of the internet, Okashiboxx.
Hello.
Hello. Okashi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, just a couple questions, like what's your earliest gaming memory and what's your current favorite game?
Absolutely. So I would say my earliest video game memory was probably playing like Clay Fighters or Joust with my brother on the Super Nintendo way back in the day.
Hell yeah.
Best system.
Yeah, for sure. And my current favorite game is Animal Crossing Wild World. I love Animal Crossing.
Whoa.
You like Wild World?
Yep, I love Wild World. Yep, that was my first game that I was able to play online with strangers.
Oh my god.
It was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're not a fan of Wild World, Mox?
All the other ones after it are so much better. even City Folk.
Dang.
It's insane.
I like the OG one a lot. The one on GameCube. Before we get started, I wanted to go over what the options were for this episode. And they were Undertale, Little Nightmares, and Party Hard. And the winner, of course, was Undertale. But if you're wanting a different game, please join us over in the Bombchu Discord to cast your vote. You can find a link to the Bombchu Discord in the stream by typing !Bombchu, or there will be a link in the description of the video version. Now, besides Undertale, what have you all been playing? I'll start with Okashi. What have you been playing?
So getting in with the Halloween spirit, I've been playing Phasmophobia with my viewers on Twitch. So spooky games.
Super spooky. Mm-hmm. I've heard good things, though.
Do you play it on VR or just, I don't know, non-VR?
No, non-VR, unfortunately. I don't know. That sounds too scary.
I agree.
You can hold one extra item when you're playing in VR.
Oh,
what is it?
You just have an extra slot. So you've got two. You can put an item on each hip, and then you can hold an item in each hand. So you can hold 4 instead of 3.
Huh. That's interesting. What have you been playing, Mox?
Final Fantasy 14. It's the only game. You guys all play like new games. All I do is play the same game, and then I get bored of it, and then I play another game forever until I get bored of it. I don't know how you guys do it.
I don't know. Got that ADHD for games, I guess. I don't know. Austin, what have you been playing?
I played through Ghost Runner, and Apex Legends is on Steam, so I've been playing some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And some Resident Evil 5 with you.
Yeah. Been playing a lot of RE5, which has been nice. And yeah, I've just been like diving into a bunch of Game Pass games. Oh, this looks interesting. Let me play it for like an hour. I played one today called East Shade, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
It's like a adventure game that has like Elder Scrolls vibes, but it's not like an RPG. It's really interesting.
Whoa. What do you mean, Elder Scrolls vibes?
Like it's first person, the way like the way that the textures look and the colors, very like Elder Scrolls, and like the environment, and then the music is also like very much like Elder Scrolls, but from what I can tell, there's no combat. It's a lot of dialogue, which is also very similar to how Elder Scrolls and Fallout like does their dialogue system. You can find like a real quick small tangent, like you can find like an abandoned tower, and then you're like, oh, abandoned tower, and then you can go like talk to someone, and it's potentially you can ask them about the abandoned tower. You can pick a topic, and then kind of and then they'll like share something about it. And then I've only played the first 30 minutes of it this morning, but I was telling Ashley, like, I'm definitely going to go back and play in that. Like, it seems really interesting.
Get out of there like millions of games. I'm sorry, we don't have to perseverate on this.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about any of that.
Okay, fine.
We're here to talk about some Undertale. Undertale is a RPG that was released September 15th, 2015, initially on PC Mac, and it later came to Linux, PS4, and the PS Vita. And it was on the Switch as well quite a bit later. So as always, let's do a little tiny dive into what was going on in 2015. So we've already played a game that came out in 2015. I think 2 actually, but I only wrote down 1. Can anyone guess?
I think it was Axiom Verge and what was the other one?
I cannot remember the
Soma?
other one. That could be, actually. Could be Soma. Besides Axiom Verge and potentially Soma, it was also the year that gave us Witcher 3, Fallout 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain, and many, many other games. I would say pretty good year for games. Undertale, also new 3DS was that year.
Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. So Undertale was developed and published by Toby Fox, who is, well, I don't know where he's currently living, but he's from Boston, Massachusetts, and it was made in the Game Maker Studio engine. So before going into more detail about Undertale and history, let's talk a bit about Toby Fox, because he's like the face of Undertale. It's not a solo project, but I mean, he is like the main, he did most of the work. So I think it's important to go into a bit about him. So he was born on October 11th, 1991. And as we know, like, he's a video game developer, but he's also a composer as well. And he composed his first like composition was for a webcomic called Homestuck, which is something that he did during high school. Are you familiar with Homestuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never read the webcomic, but they had a game in a Humble Monthly at one point
called
that was
Hive
really
Swap?
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, he did the music for that as well.
Nice.
Yeah. Mox, you're aware of Homestuck?
I had heard of it only because it was like heard of Undertale and then Homestuck.
Okay, gotcha. And he also made music for Escaped Chasm, Little Town Hero, which I didn't play that, but it's a Game Freak game that's supposed to be pretty decent. And also he has a track in Pokemon Sword and Shield, which just, crazy.
Yeah.
He's, of course, mostly well-known for Undertale, but he also, in October 2018, later released Deltarune, which was like the first chapter of a sequel to Undertale. And as far as like how far along that is, he said he's about 50 songs past chapter 1. And that will make more sense as we kind of go into a little bit of the history of Undertale, because he actually developed Undertale in a really unique way based on what I read. So as we mentioned before, Undertale was developed by Toby Fox, and it was developed in only 32 months. I feel like for one person, that's pretty impressive, or a small group of people, especially just like for how like deep this game is. The game was financed through a Kickstarter. The campaign launched June 25th, 2013, and had a goal of only $5,000, and it ended in 1 month with $51,000.
Oh.
Quite a successful Kickstarter. Toby Fox, he wanted to make an RPG that was different from the traditional sense. He found that like traditional RPGs were quite boring to play. There's a lot of grind, and he wanted to be quite different. He also wanted to have like really interesting characters and use those characters to tell like a really compelling story. Yeah, so he worked on the entire game independently besides some of the art. The reason why he did that was he didn't want to rely on others, and I totally understand that. I hated like group projects in school. I don't know about you guys.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But he wanted to, just rely on himself. He had very little experience with game development besides playing around with RPG Maker with his brothers when he was younger. Have any of you guys used RPG Maker at all?
Yes, I have. I'm guessing he use the PlayStation version?
I don't know. It didn't say specifically, or it could be like RPG Maker 2000 for PC or something.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I used the PC version quite a bit growing up.
To do what?
Make an RPG.
Yeah, I made some silly games. But it was a really good like intro to programming for me growing up.
Yeah, you get to learn about like flags and setting up events and tiles and stuff like that. It's a nifty program.
I would highly recommend checking it out for anyone who's like if you're like, would I be interested in game development? I think messing around with RPG Maker, especially if you want to make something that's RPG-esque, is a good start just to be like, yeah, I would like it. He also worked, Toby Fox also worked on several Earthbound hacks in high school as well. And as I mentioned before, he wasn't like the only person who worked on Undertale. There was someone else named Timmy Chang who worked on Undertale, and she was the main artistic assistant. She provided most of the sprites and the concept art. It's also like the art of Undertale's pretty minimal, right? Like for the most part, like it's nice, but you know, it's not like crazy. He mentioned that the game's art style would have likely remained the same despite the team size. Like if he would have had up 50 people, he would have still stuck with this like minimal art style. He also said that there's a psychological thread that says audiences become more attached to characters drawn simply rather than in detail. And that was one of the main reasons why he decided to keep the art to a minimum. So I'm going to go a bit into the game design here of the game. So the defensive battle system that's in the game is heavily inspired by the Mario and Luigi series. I have not personally played that, but have any of you played that?
I played the first one, Superstar Saga.
Yeah.
And I was definitely getting vibes. While I was playing Undertale, I was thinking about Mario and Luigi at least a couple of times when I was playing through the battle system. In Mario and Luigi, basically enemy attacks they aren't standardized, and so you can avoid them, you can jump over them, do different things, and the enemies are all varied in what they do. So I could definitely see the inspiration there.
Yeah. It was also inspired by bullet hell shooters such as I'm going to say this wrong probably, Toho Project? Toho Project? I'm not a big bullet hell person, but there you go.
Their music is awesome. Haven't you always seen the Bad Apple? I think everybody's seen Bad Apple.
I haven't.
Oh, well, that's better for you.
It's good.
He also wanted it to be like really engaging, similarly to Super Mario RPG, which makes sense. Having played that myself, like I totally get that. He didn't want grinding to be like a necessity. He also wasn't big on fetch quests. He felt the game's difficulty was really optimal. Like his goal was to make it not too hard, but not too easy. He actually had his friends like play the game that were not like bullet hell experts or just like, super gamers, I guess. I don't know, to try to see if they could beat it, and they were able to. So that's how he like tested the difficulty. The game's dialogue system is inspired by Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah,
really?
I can see that.
Wow.
Yeah. Particularly like how you can talk to monsters to avoid combat.
Yeah.
I could, after doing some research, I was like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. The pacifist run of the game, which we can go more into detail later with the story, but it kind of came naturally as a mechanic because of how he wanted the combat to work, because he wanted you to be able to avoid combat, and then like with that came like, well, what if you avoided like all combat? What would that look like? The writing of the game, so the idea of being trapped in an underground world was inspired by this game called Brandish. I have never heard of this game. Have you guys?
No.
I've heard of it, but I've never played it, and I don't think I've ever looked at any gameplay on it.
Yeah. It must have been like, I mean, maybe it's like some crazy cult hit that, I don't know, I just missed, but it's interesting how like sometimes depending on like what games you have around as like a kid can like really like alter like how you like what you're inspired by or what you like or stuff. He also said it was inspired by the unsettling atmosphere of Earthbound. And he wanted the monsters to feel like an individual versus like just something you just like plow through, like in Final Fantasy, for example. He wanted them to feel like an actual character instead of just a barrier, basically. Now we're going to go a little into the music. So the music was entirely composed by Toby Fox with FL Studio, which I believe is short for Fruit Loops, right? Or Fruity Loops.
Yep.
He's a completely self-taught musician, and the only song to have multiple iterations was the main theme. Some were previously used in things like Homestuck or an Earthbound hack. For example, the one that a lot of people really like, Megalovania, that one was previously used.
You said they were there weren't any repeats. What do you mean by that?
Did I say that?
Do you mean that like no song was used twice in the soundtrack?
Oh, no. Oh, multiple iterations?
Yeah.
I mean that whenever he finished the song, he was like, all right, that's it, I'm done. Instead of like revisiting the track and being like, oh, this could be improved. Yeah. And something that I found really interesting was that he made the music, which I just cannot believe this, but yeah, he would compose the music before programming. So like, let's say like you're about to do like the wintry area. What's it called? Snowden. Yeah, Snowden. Let's say you're like, he's like, all right, I want to go to like the snowy place. He would compose the music before even starting programming that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other developers that have done that, but I have not seen that or read of that or heard a GDC talk on that or anything. That's quite impressive.
It's almost like he used his own music to give him inspiration and imagery in his head on what he wanted to see go with that. That's really cool.
The music was highly praised as a key selling point of the game, and it's frequently covered today. Like, it's a huge hit. Undertale was received really well. I mean, extremely, extremely well. Has a 92 out of 100 on Metacritic, 9s and 10s. Yeah, 9s and 10s across the board. The only mixed reception that it got really was about the visuals. Like, everything else, everyone was just like, yep, it's top tier, like, amazing. And Toby Fox was actually really surprised by how popular the game was. He didn't expect it to gain like as much popularity as it has, which I guess that's good. Keep your expectations low, but yeah, it's interesting. Is there anything about Undertale that is not related to the story or Toby Fox that you guys would like to add before moving forward?
Deltarune is an anagram of Undertale.
Spoilers.
What?
I'm kidding.
Nice. Anything else, Mox? Or are you sitting us with the...
We're waiting for the story. That's the best part.
We're not there yet.
Well, wait, I guess I know 2 facts. There was an extra boss that was added as a Kickstarter, like, what are they called when you make extra money beyond the...
Stretch goal.
Yes. The spider one, Muffet. And there's an extra boss for the Switch version. That's it. I didn't want to spoil the boss too much.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're good. Austin or Akashi, anything else you guys want to add?
I got squat.
All right. All right. So I'm going to put this old spoiler tag on, and let's dive into the story a bit. There's a lot of story here. It's a short game, but I mean, there's a lot to talk about. And it's been, gone through with a fine-tooth comb, I feel, a lot of the story, and people have tried to, read into a lot of it, and it's got a lot there. There's a lot of branching paths and like different events that can happen. But let's kind of start at the beginning and just kind of go through for a bit. We may have to speed up some parts, but I'll just kind of go through, and please interrupt me, especially our story expert, Mox, please.
I'm ready. Get it going.
Okay, so Undertale takes place in the Underground, which is a realm where monsters once equal to humans were banished after a war broke out between them. The Underground was sealed away from the surface world by this like magical barrier, and there's only like one point of entry, which is this mountain. A child like falls into, I should specify, a human child falls into the Underground, that's you, and encounters Flowey,
yeah.
Okay, I'm going with Flowey. a sentient flower who teaches the player the game's mechanics, and encourages them to raise their LV or love by gaining EXP through killing monsters. When Flowey attempts to murder the human to take their soul for himself, you're rescued by Toriel, which is like this mother goat-like monster. She kind of like does like a little tutorial with you and teaches you how to solve puzzles and like what's kind of like the conflict going on in the underground. She has this like intention to like want to protect you from this king called Asgore. You eventually leave Toriel in search for Asgore's castle. I assume like you do that because you want to like leave this world. I think that's where that drive is coming from.
Yeah, you want to get back home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you do that. After doing that, you encounter several monsters along the way, including two skeletons named Sans and Papyrus, who are brothers.
I say Sans because it's because of he's using a Sans
Comic
serif
Sans,
font.
right?
Okay. So Sans?
Yes.
All right. We're going with Sans. So you they act as like sentries for the Snowden Forest, and then you also you encounter Undyne, which is the head of the guard.
The Royal Guard.
Yeah, the Royal Guard. And also some other people such as Alphys, which is the kingdom's royal scientist, and Metaton, which is like just some weird robotic television host that Alphys created.
Yeah. She gave him determination. You haven't gotten there yet. Keep going. And a soul. He has a soul.
He has a soul? Okay.
Yeah.
And he's bloodthirsty for humans.
Like a really weird way.
So some of these characters, you can fight them. You can choose whether like to kill them or show them mercy. And if you spare them, you actually like become friends with them.
And they'll call you.
Yeah, they will call you.
Tyler, somebody is mentioning on the Discord that we're getting raided.
Oh, looky there.
It's going crazy. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I think this is first time being rated, probably. Appreciate it. Thank you for the love. So, yeah, let's kind of... Okay, so, you meet these friends along the way. You then... I'm definitely going to, like, get to the end soon, right? So, Mox, please interrupt me here. Because I feel like I'm going a bit too fast.
I'm waiting. Keep going.
Okay. So, during your travel, you learn, like, about the war between the humans and the monsters. You learn about Asriel, who was like the son of Asgore and Toriel. And Asriel like befriended the first human who like fell into the underground, and they were like adopted. You also learned that like that child killed themselves
in a way
by eating poisonous flowers
accidentally. Ostensibly.
And then whenever Asriel returned their body to the humans, because like they wanted to return like the human child that they adopted.
I'm gonna interrupt you here. So
go ahead.
The barrier between the worlds, the human world and the monster world, can only be opened by, or can rather be passed through by like a human soul, because humans, and soul for some reason is in all caps, even though it isn't like an initialism. Human souls are like infinitely more powerful than monster souls, and the entire kingdom underground decides to collect, I think it's 7 or maybe 8 human souls so they can break the barrier. But when the first human that fell into the underground dies, Asriel like gets part of his soul like incorporated into him, so he's able to pass through the barrier. So he goes to return the body of the human to the human world, but the human world of course thinks that he killed this human, so they kill Asriel, who stumbles back to the underground and then dies on the same like flower bed that are the poisonous flowers that killed the first human. Should I just like say all the spoilers?
Go for it.
Go spoiler mode right now.
Go crazy.
And so when monsters die, they turn into like dust. And so Asriel turns into dust on that like patch of flowers. They're like special flowers, golden flowers of some sort. But what happens is that Alphys decide, like they what's his name? Asgore is like, we need human souls. We need to get, to the surface because he's mad at the humans, obviously, because they killed his son.
He wants their revenge.
Yeah. So he has like Alphys, the scientist, go and, try and collect souls. Anybody that comes in, they kill these humans. They, collect souls over time. But Alphys is trying to experiment with like, what can they do with monster souls that they have, in the underground in Plenitude, which is nothing because they're worthless. But she takes the flower that Azrael, like that spawned where Azrael died, and then tries to give it like determination, which is like the spirit in humans that gives them the ability to save. Like they can make save points and alter reality. It sounds so stupid when you're
gives you the ability to save.
It does. It is. It saves again in all caps. I don't know why. It's an initialism. But anyway, that flower that is given determination and kind of has a soul because Azrael had a soul is Flowey. So the Flowey is like a reincarnation of Azrael. And of course he's mad, Yeah. Because he died.
Super angry.
Yeah.
Now the game's ending does depend on how the player resolves encounters with monsters. So there's a couple different endings. Let's start with genocidal ending. So if you kill everybody.
Okay. Start with neutral. That's the one everybody gets.
Okay, fine. Okay, let's start with neutral. So that's the one that everyone gets on their first playthrough, even if you kill no monsters, right?
Well, there's a pacifist neutral ending as well. Or I guess that's just a way to play, but I think it's pretty much the same ending.
Yes.
Okay. So for that, like the first playthrough where you kill no monsters or some, the human arrives at Asgore's castle and learns that they also need a monster soul to cross the barrier, and you're basically forced to fight Asgore. Sans stops the human before their confrontation, revealing that the human's love is an acronym for level of violence, and XP is for execution points. Sans judges the human based on the combined resolution of the encounters, and the human fights Asgore, but Flowey interrupts him, killing Asgore, stealing the human souls. With the aid of the rebelling souls, the human defeats Flowey, falls unconscious, and awakens on the human side of the barrier. Then you receive a phone call from Sans, explaining the state of the underground after your departure, and that would be like the ending, right? So that's like the first one that you get, which I think is considered like neutral.
And you have to get this ending before you could get the best ending.
Okay. That ending has like there's like different phone calls depending on how many monsters you've killed and who you spared, etc. If you kill no monsters and have completed a previous playthrough, this is called passive neutral. Oh wait, no. The previous
true pacifist.
Okay, true pacifist, yeah. Flowey is revealed to be a reincarnation of Azrael, which you explained, Mox, created as part of Alphys' experiments. Toriel intervenes before the human fights Asgore and is joined by the other monsters the human has befriended. Flowey ambushes the whole group, retaking all the human souls and the souls of all the monsters to take on older Azrael's form to fight the human. The human connects with their new friends during the fight, eventually triumphing. Azrael reverts to his child form, destroys the barrier, and expresses his remorse to the others before leaving. The human falls unconscious and awoken to see their friends surrounding them. With the knowledge of the human's name, Frisk, the monsters reintegrate with the humans on the surface, while Frisk has the option of accepting Toriel as their adoptive mother, which she would be an amazing mom.
Aww.
She's like a super mom.
She's so sweet.
Extremely sweet. God, best mom ever. And that route is referred to as the pacifist or true pacifist route. Then if you kill... Oh, go ahead.
Just, I know...
Please.
One thing that threw me off, I knew going in that you had to complete a run before you could go do the true pacifist ending. And as I found out, thankfully, if your first run is pacifist, like if you reach the regular ending without killing anything, you can resume that save file and keep doing the other things that you need to do to reach that that full ending. So you don't have to do 2 full playthroughs to get the true pacifist ending.
And were you able to do that?
Yes.
Okay, nice. We can talk about that.
Oh, I was going to say, does it just diverge? Like you don't go to the true lab, probably?
So you do a regular playthrough, but if you don't kill anything, then you get your regular ending. And when you open your save file again, you're right there at the end. But if you go walk away, then somebody will call you and be like, "Hey, come see me over in Snowden," and it starts off like another quest line.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, where was I? Right. Genocide, yeah. If you kill all the monsters. So, in that route, Frisch becomes influenced by Kara.
I say Kara because it's supposed
Kara?
to be a character, but
Okay.
you name Kara.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's whatever you named your character at the start,
Which is
That's
insane.
just kind of the canon name. Yeah.
Like you don't name the person that you're playing. I love that.
The fallen human child whose body Asriel attempted to return. When Frisk reaches Asgore's castle, Sans attempts to stop them, but Frisk kills him. Flowey kills Asgore in an attempt to get mercy, but Frisk executes Flowey anyway. The fallen human child assumes control, with or without the player's consent, destroys the whole universe.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my
To
God.
enable further replays of the game, Frisk must first give their soul to the fallen human child in exchange for restoring the universe, which will permanently alter every subsequent pacifist run.
In what way?
I don't know.
I
did
thought the
not
monsters
observe
like
it.
get mad at you. They don't talk to you. Like, whereas you can have conversations with the monster and they'll be like friendly and like tell you about themselves. I'm pretty sure they just don't say anything.
Jeez.
Oh no, you can't flirt with them anymore? No.
But what's interesting is, like you said earlier, is that every monster, there's only one of them. Like, you kill one, there's no other ones. Even though you might encounter them more than once, once you kill them, you never encounter them again. It's not like there's like 30,
Yeah.
I didn't
Cats.
know that. That's interesting.
Any other spoilery stuff you guys would like to add?
So much.
Lay it on us. Go.
Well,
go.
I
go.
mean, just
go
like-
ham.
I mean, like, the fact that you name the character that you're naming is like, it's suggested that you're naming the person that you're playing, but you're not. You're naming this other character, Kara, which you can name whatever. But you're actually playing as Frisk. I think that's such an interesting idea, which of course you can't talk about unless you want to like spoil the entire game for somebody.
You like that twist?
Yeah, there were so many twists in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Sans is a real jokester for a lot of the game, and then kind of when you're getting close to the end, he's like, "Hey, let's have dinner," and he brings up the promise that he made to Toriel. When he didn't know who she was, when she said, if you see a human come through, watch over them, don't kill them, and he's like, if I hadn't made that promise, you'd be dead where you stand. And it's this really out of nowhere moment that's just like, Jesus Christ. And his eyes are completely black when he says it. It's really creepy. Yeah, there's lots of cool stuff in here. There's lots of optional stuff, like you can befriend the people that you spare. So like Undyne, you can become friends with. You can go on a date with Papyrus and become friends. There's lots of really cool stuff in here. I feel like going into a discussion about it is probably going to be spoilers from here on out, maybe. But I don't know. I guess at some point we can just talk gameplay, but it's hard when there's the gameplay and the story are so tied together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, true. We can keep the spoilers tag on. I think that's okay. At least for maybe the first part of everyone's can give their little review, full on spoilers, and then we can do we can turn it off and then just be like, yeah, it was great or whatever. Yeah, so that's Undertale in a nutshell. Let's talk about our thoughts on it. Let's start with Mox. Start with you, Mox.
I love this game, even though I really don't play it. I think I've played 5 minutes of it. It's just not a fun game to play for me because I don't like bullet hells, which is what most of this game is.
Mm-hmm.
But the storyline is so good, and I love all the different things that you can do. And every ending somehow, when you play it, it's a completely different game. So I love watching like speed runs of different. Almost all the speed runs are like 100%. There's not a lot of glitches there's not really like no physics to exploit, or I don't know, like something you could clip through. Like it's just you just kind of
like a wrong word.
Yeah, you just do the game. But there's like a couple things where like you can exploit like walking backwards and it like accidentally moves you forwards, things like that. But those are not really like major glitches. Anyway, it's just like there's so much to this game, and I think the characters are really charming. I love the storyline. I love just like how deep every single, even the monsters all have like their own storyline and how they came to be, because they're just like citizens of this realm. Like they're monsters because that's what their species is or whatever, but they all have like parents and siblings and girlfriends. Yeah. I don't know. It's just such a novel concept. Yeah. And like
inspiration.
When you get to the true lab where Alphys was doing like her experiments, she basically like asked for people to give them the bodies of their dead relatives so she could see if like there'd be a way that she could use souls and determination to leave through the barrier. And then everybody that's in the true lab are basically like the dead relatives of everybody in the rest of the world, just like weird combined into weird, creepy amalgamations, but they're like, they still recognize, that they are monsters. Like, who thought of that? That's insane. I don't know. I really like this game, even though I don't like the game part. I would watch it as a movie and not a game. And that's really my opinion.
Nice. What about you, Austin?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. This is my third time. So I've never finished it before. I've started it twice, reached the same point, which was like right after Snowden, and was just like, this is great. Can't wait to play more. And I never played it again because there was a lot of pressure, because it was like I was trying to spare stuff, or at least just spare the bosses. And on one run, my very first run, I killed Toriel, the mom, thinking I couldn't spare her because she wouldn't listen to me. And I was just gutted by it afterwards when I found out that was such a sad scene. And then when I found out afterwards that I could spare her, it was just like, So this time, I committed ahead of time. I was just like, I'm going to do this as a pacifist run, no matter how hard it is. And I was pretty worried about some of the later bullet hells, because when you're doing pacifist, you get no experience whatsoever. So you're level 1 throughout the game. And the enemies, as you get further in, they hit you harder. Their attacks become harder to avoid, and you're not getting any extra health. But it ended up being, I had some trouble spots, but overall, it was not nearly as hard as I thought it would be.
Did you use the items that have like the immunity frames?
I did. I used. I set my weapon to one that gave me extra invulnerability frames, and I had there's a piece of armor in the game that you can get to make it easier if you're having a really hard time. The more you die, the cheaper it is. It starts off with an insanely high cost. I didn't use it, but it gives you stupid high defense and it heals you every other turn. So I ended up with some armor that was pretty good and it healed me every other turn, but I didn't have the OP armor that is really just if you're struggling super hard with with progressing.
Yeah.
Where was I going? Oh, yeah. So doing it as a pure pacifist was it was tough in a good way. Anytime I died, usually when I die in games and I get set back, it frustrates me pretty bad. And in this one, there was something about the game over screen. They were like, "Hey, don't give up! Like you got to keep going." Yeah. They encourage you. And it was also pretty respectful with my time. Like when I was fighting Metaton, for example, I made it to the second part of the fight, and when it set me back behind it, I was like, I gotta redo the first half of this fight. And they're like, "Oh, seems like you've done this before. Do you want to just move on to the second half of the fight?" Yeah, thank God.
Wow, that's so nice. You don't get that when you watch speedrun people who just do it all right the first time. So.
Yeah. Sometimes when you die to a boss and you haven't had a save point in a while, like it'll put you really close to the boss, even though there's no save point there. So that it was very. It went out of its way to avoid frustrating you really bad, which was good. And I would say it was very satisfying trying to figure out how to spare each monster. The talking system was really fun, especially with like the Sir Dog or what the dog in the big giant armor was one of my favorites. Just all the interactions with him. Yeah, I had a really great time. It didn't overstay its welcome. It was nice and short. Like when I first got it, I assumed it was going to be since it was an RPG, that it was going to be at least 20 hours. And it's only like a 6-hour game, which is, it's really a good length. All the dialogue is really well written. Like I was constantly getting laughs.
Yeah, it's extremely well written.
Yeah, and it's crazy that it just stays consistently that good throughout.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Is that the end of your spoilery review, would you say?
It's everything I can think of right now.
Okay. Okashi, what about you?
So this game really pulls at my heartstrings. The first time I played through it, every person that I accidentally killed, especially Toriel, I was really, really upset about it. Like when I play games like this, I really get into just the emotions of the character. You know, I'm very empathetic. I don't want to kill anybody if I don't have to. And then when I do, I get really, really upset and sad about it.
Yeah.
On the surface, just the dialogue and the jokes and everything is just cracking me up the entire time. So I absolutely love this game. That gives me like Earthbound-y vibes because of the art style.
Yeah.
The humor is hilarious. And so, playing it a second time through, I felt like I, was playing it again for the first time. Everything was just adorable, cute, and I was super happy whenever I saw this one was on your guys' list to play. So,
which ending did you go for?
Neutral both times. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really, I didn't know, I had like no expectations about this game at all. I know that like people really like it, but for me, like I never played it. I always knew that I wanted to play it. Like I was like, one day I'll play it, but I never just like sat down and started. And so I was quite confused actually because I didn't know anything. And I was like, I didn't know that I could spare people in the beginning. And I killed the mom, which was really sad. And I felt so bad about it. I actually like messaged Austin and I was like, do I have to do this? Because I didn't want to. I didn't want to like research, like Google the game, and I didn't want anything to be spoiled. So I was like, well, I know Austin played the beginning, so I messaged him and I'm like, is this like? He's like, no, you can actually spare. I'm like, what? Are you serious? I was so mad, and I felt like just the biggest asshole. Like I was a terrible person. Then I went through the whole rest of the run sparing everybody. So I was actually level 5 for the whole game. I ran into one part where like I used a bunch of healing items really quickly and I didn't really need to. And that kind of made it to where like I needed some cash, but I found where I could sell stuff and that made things really easy. But yeah, that like the ending was really good. At the end where you fight the Photoshop Flowey,
that one is horrifying.
The game just
scary.
Crashed. Like it just like
it does that.
It like ends and I'm like, that was weird. I'm gonna turn it back on. And then like I had to fight him, and if you lose, and I lost him like a couple times, it crashes again. And I'm like, this game is like, anyone who has me on Steam like just probably saw me open Undertale like 10 times. Like, what the hell's going on here? But that fight was really interesting. I mean, Austin even thought he was done, and then I was like, hey man, you're not done.
I was livid at the ending that I got, because I reached the point where Fly was just like, hey, you're an idiot, and he closes your game, and I was just like, that's the end. I can't believe that's, and I was so mad, and I messaged Tyler. I was just like, I'm so pissed off right now. You cannot understand. I was boiling. And he was like, so he got on a call with me and was just like, yeah, tell me the ending you got, because I know you went past this. And I was like, I did this, and I did this. And then he closed my game, and he was like, yep. And I was like, yeah, and that's it. He was like, oh, you're not done. You gotta go do the ending. There's a whole nother chunk of the game.
Yeah.
Did you think it was over?
Part.
I did think it was over because Fly was just like, yeah, man, you're an idiot. That's it. Bye.
Yeah.
It closes your game. I was just like, I can't believe it. I thought that was just the regular pacifist ending. Like,
that's
so witty.
Yeah. Does it crash on Switch as well? Like, does it just like?
Yeah.
Whoa. And so then you had to like reopen it. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. These developers are insane. Like, it's so cool. Just the little nuances that they throw into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of that horror game for GameCube.
Eternal Darkness?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That would like mess, like do silly things like delete your save files and like adjust volume and stuff. Like, it's not quite that extreme, but still like to just close. And if you die again, like just continue closing. All right. I'm going to turn off the spoiler tag so we can...
Wait, one more thing.
Go ahead.
Because that reminded me.
Go for it.
So I was considering doing a genocide run at some point.
Ooh.
Just to like really have just a gut-wrenching experience of what... Because, man, Toriel really just... that hurt me so bad. It was just like, what would it be like to do that with everybody? That would be a horrible experience, I bet. I should do that someday. And I started up the game again after I had finished the True Pacifist, and Flowey actually begs you not to play the game again. He's just like,
whoa.
He's like, just everyone is at the happiest that they can be. If you start a new save, they're all going to be torn from this. They won't remember anything. Like, just leave everybody alone and let them be happy.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, yeah, I think I'm just going to delete this game now.
And done.
Yep.
Nice.
You convinced me. Thanks, Flowey.
Well, because remember, when you can save, then you can alter timelines. You would alter everything. Ruin it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to... Actually, before turning the spoilers tag off, one quick thing. Mox, you said something made me think of something else, which is, would you be interested in like a film adaptation of this game? Or do you think it doesn't work in that way?
As someone who never played it and only watches it over and over and over, yeah, I would watch it. It's excellent.
Would it have to be like an animated film?
No.
Probably.
I think it would be weird if it was humans, but it doesn't have to be. Didn't they learn from Sonic?
Oh, God. Okay.
When you pet the dog's head, it just keeps getting longer and longer.
Not creepy at all. All right. Let's switch off spoilers. Let's give a little, just, a non-spoilery overall summarize, just like a little summary of what you thought. I'll start. So I played on PC and I absolutely loved the music. I was a little confused at first, but the more I played, the more I fell in love. I did have like the visuals. Sometimes I was like, could be a little better. Like I know what they're going for, but I was just like, if it was just like a bit different, it would have been a bit more enjoyable for me. But overall, like, at least on the Tyler scale, definitely like a 9 out of 10 for sure. And it's the interesting thing about this game for me is sometimes when you play a game and you really enjoy it, you're like, oh, I want to play it again. This one, I feel like just like it was a really complete experience. It feels nice. Mox, I know you watched it, but like, seems like it would be a on the Mox scale a 9 or 10 for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I love watching speedruns of games, and I honestly prefer to like watch games sometimes than play them. Or I'll like play a game that's you do nothing. You like just like Stellaris, you just move ships around, or FF14, you just like craft tons of weird shirts. And you do that while you have like something else open in the other window. And I just love watching the speed run because like people love the game. The music's so great. All the, there's so much to it. Each speed run category has like different things that you can do. someone decided to speedrun all the what are they called? All the endings. Why it takes like 30 hours? Why did they do that? But it's just like such a nice game, and the story is so good. I don't really care for the gameplay, but I don't play it, so I don't have an opinion about it. So yes, it is a 9 out of 10 on my scale.
Nice. Austin, what about you?
Yeah, I'd also give it a 9 out of 10. The gameplay was really good. The battles were engaging. I liked that the rules kept changing for the battles. Like, hey, you're a heart going around in this square, but then all of a sudden you fight somebody else, and it's just like, okay, well, now you're not limited by the square. Or it. Lots of little. They kept the battles fresh, which was good. The story overall, I wasn't that interested in, but the characters were really fascinating, and the conversations, the details. So, like the whole war between the humans and the monsters, it was just like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But it was more the dialogue and the motivations behind what everyone was doing, and the characters themselves that really kept me hooked. I thought difficulty was really well balanced. I kind of agree with you, Tyler, that visually, like for the monster art, when you're going into a fight, or the character portraits, I think could have been a little bit better. Within the game itself, like while you're walking around, I thought everything looked fine. When I looked at screenshots, I was like, this looks kind of like garbage, but actually playing it, it's a little bit better in motion while you're playing. I loved anytime Papyrus was on screen, just the weird flips and things that he would do made me laugh out loud every time. Really had a great time with it. I agree, it was a complete experience. I don't think that I would play it again, but I will remember it fondly.
Nice. Okashi, what about you?
Yeah, definitely 9 out of 10 for me. I'm terrible at puzzle games, and so I felt like it wasn't too difficult for me. The story really kept me engaged. The characters were really relatable and cute, and the humor was hilarious. So, I felt like if I had to put it down and pick it back up later, I wasn't incredibly lost. So that was really important. It was short and sweet, to the point. So I loved it.
Nice. That was Undertale. Our next 3 games were nominated by Mox, and they were Grease, Epistory, and Banjo-Tooie, which I assume Banjo-Tooie was a callback from when we had Mr. Prog on last episode.
Oh, absolutely. And to convince a certain someone that it is better than Banjo-Kazooie.
Whoa.
Not gonna happen.
But the votes are in, and it looks like Grease will be the next game. Thank you, everyone, for joining. The stream will be on November 22nd at 2 o'clock Eastern, sometime some other place. Akashi, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to plug?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a Twitch affiliate. So if anybody ever has the opportunity and they want to pop by my stream, my Twitch handle is twitch.tv/Okashiboxx. So OKASHIBOXX. I play a little bit of everything. I'm always open to having community streams too. So if there are any games that anybody ever wants to play with me, come join. We're a growing community.
Nice. Do you have Patreon and all that stuff?
Yeah, all the Patreon link is attached to my Twitch as well. So all of my handles are spelled the same. So if it's a social media page, you'll find me there.
Nice.
Yay.
Yeah, that's great. It was nice to have you on for sure. And we would love to have you back sometime as well. Austin, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, anytime.
And Mox, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Okashi, thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm Tyler, and this was Video Game Club, episode 10, and we're out.